No?
You're going to have to turn on your... yeah.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our regular council meeting for March 27th. Call the meeting to order, please, council, and a motion to adopt the minutes from March 13th, regular and special and public hearing report. Councillor Holmes, thank you. Councillor Carlson, all in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. We need a resolution to adopt the agenda. Do we have any late?
The minutes.
He already did the minutes.
Oh, we did that. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's not technically a late item. It's just an adjustment to the agenda. Item 14.2 should be highlighted in yellow, as technically it should be considered new business. This will give people the opportunity to speak to it if they wish.
Okay.
At the beginning of the meeting.
At the beginning of the meeting, yes, thank you.
Thank you. So, motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please. Councillor Carlson. Councillor Holmes, thank you. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much. And moving ahead, we have no public hearings, correct? On to delegations. We have the good fortune of having our MP, Mr. Albus, with us this evening. Dan, would you like to come forward, please? We have a flag presentation to take place.
I think we're going to have all of council,
Yep.
come out to the front.
Coming out front, Dan? That would be great. Yep.
Great, thank you.
So if I could ask Mayor and Council just to come forward, as many people are here, and it's wonderful to see so many people at tonight's council meeting. As you know, this is our sesquicentennial year, and so to get people excited about our birthday, our 150th birthday, I've been going throughout the riding and presenting mayors and councils with Canada 150 flag, so that you can use it in all of your activities. So, Councillor Booth, Councillor Barco, please. Yeah. Anyway, so we're encouraging people to get ready for Canada's 150 on July 1st, but also if there's other events that are happening, we just want to get people in the spirit of what makes this country great, and looking forward to all the celebrations throughout the ride. Thank you very much. Thank you, Richard. It's always a pleasure.
Okay, at this time we're moving on to item 6, where individuals and the public have the opportunity to speak to any highlighted item on our agenda. So if anybody would like to come forward and speak to any of the items, they're welcome to do so now.
2 minutes per.
And we have about approximately 2 minutes per person, please.
Mr. Mayor, council members, and members of the administration, my name is Henry Seelman. I recently moved to Cartwright, to the Cartwright development. We have a number of us and our neighbors over here because we're concerned about the application for rezoning. And we understand that first and second reading will be discussed today. We would very much appreciate the opportunity to have a little more time to become familiar with the issue, and ask that you consider the opportunity to perhaps send it back to administration for further analysis. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Seelman. Is there anybody else like to speak, please? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. Guess we have my report to move on with. And just like to say that just this afternoon, in fact, I think it was about 4:02, as I was walking home, my phone rang, and it was a call from our MLA, Dan Ashton, letting us know that we had just received the $100,000 funding grant from the BC government's Rural Dividend Fund in support of the municipality's integrated solar project. So I'd like to thank our MLA Dan Ashton for his hard work over over the last year or so, but certainly for this particular project, we're very pleased that he helped us out. And also, we had discussions with Minister Steve Thompson of Flinroe, who is in charge of the Rural Dividend Fund. So thanks to both of them for this is a good kickstart to our solar program. And just like to say that this particular fund helps rural communities throughout BC and helps diversify our economies. Support will allow the district to undertake technical feasibility studies for a large-scale solar array, including site assessments, engineering reports, and business plan modeling. The grant also provides funding for technical training for staff and the community regarding solar energy and infrastructure upgrades to the electrical utility to interconnect existing equipment safely and seamlessly with the new localized solar energy generation. So this was a real bonus for us, and we're exceptionally pleased to be able to move and start getting some of the base work done. CAO, would you like to add to that?
No.
Okay, I'll finish what I'm going to say then here. Another thing that's, it's been suggested last week that we actually were moving into spring, but personally I'm not terribly convinced. And despite that cynical view of the change in the seasons, we are moving into a very active situation in Summerland with everything from our Sunday market, Giant's Head Grind, etc., tennis tournaments, golf tournaments, expanded KVR schedules, and so on. And we are looking forward to the end of the season, our Riga Festival, and so on. So it's really going to be an active season coming up. Those were just a few of the things. Forgot to mention Action Festival, but there's tons of other items on the list here. And so there's going to be lots of things for residents and visitors alike to look at and do this summer. Also, I'd like to say that Council has had several budget discussions with staff, and we now have our preliminary budget ready for further review. And it's listed tonight under item 12.5 in the agenda. And there's an excellent explanation there, which will be addressed by our CFO. But I urge the public to read the report carefully. It is one of the best explanation and most thorough that I've had the opportunity to examine since coming on council in 2005. April 3rd, there will be a presentation by our Chief Financial Officer, David Silvetsky, and our CAO, Linda Tynan. So please come prepared with your questions and comments at that time. CAO.
Thank you. Just a little bit follow-up on the Rural Dividend Fund, grant funding for $100,000 that was awarded today. The province awarded this through this Rural Dividend Fund. Originally, Summerland was not on the list, and if you've seen the press release that came out last week on the successful communities throughout the province, Summerland actually was not on the list, but we quickly provided them with some further information regarding the importance of our electrical utility to Summerland and to the economy of Summerland, and they recognized that it wasn't a program that was just solar on each house, but the opportunity for us to diversify our economy through the use of our electrical utility. Just a reminder that there's only 5 municipalities in British Columbia that have their own electrical utility, and Summerland is one of those. So that was exciting that the province did reconsider once they more fully understood our application. Just a note for council, we wanted to just mention that there's been some talk about Giant's Head Road and the fact that it didn't weather very well in a certain portion of it through the winter, and that the asphalt somewhat exploded in one particular area. And that is, they've done some milling work on it already, and they'll be doing a patching once the plant is open in a couple of weeks to do the asphalting. So we just wanted to mention that is done, and you'll see in the budget, as council's aware, that we're looking at doing a major project with Giant's Head Road in the coming year. as the mayor said, I just want to stress a financial plan open house for anyone that you're talking to remind them that it's last year that anyone that came to the open house and to the presentation especially, we tried to do the presentation in a fun way, not a dry financial manner. David and I are already talking about how we can make it fun and informative and really keep it open for discussion. I think we achieved that for the most part last year. So if it's there'll be a lot of information, and just really encourage individuals to come out to that on April the 3rd. Garnet Valley, the project on Garnet Valley Road is, as you know, underway. We're posting daily Facebook updates. We've been finding after the PRV 10 project, which on our last post actually reached over 8,500 people. We're using Facebook on a daily basis for updates. We're also updating the website, but Facebook's a little more dynamic with pictures and an update on construction. And we have a separate Facebook page, which is Garnet Valley Water, so that we don't need to, on our own main page, post something every single day as well. So anyone that wants specifically Garnet Valley information should go there. And then on the note of Canada 150, Council is aware that we're participating in the Mosaic project. And there's been a swift and steady uptake in that project since we announced it earlier this month. We've had so far, at the time that I wrote the report, 145 tiles out of 300 have been reserved. It'll be a free event, a community event on May 5th and 6th to celebrate Canada's 150th anniversary. So there will be remaining tiles left on a first-come, first-served basis, but anybody that is interested in reserving tiles either individually or for a group should contact the office. So far we have had students from Giants Head Elementary and groups like Girl Guides, Brownies, and the Summerland Seniors Village all reserve tiles to be painted. So that will be a big project. So I did include a CAO report in the package, so I won't go over the rest of the items on it, but hopefully you'll have a look at it and read through it. And that's my report.
Thank you very much. Good, thank you. So we're moving on to unfinished business, 9.1. Is Mr. Denninger dealing? Oh, okay, you're dealing with it?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is simply just to rise and report from the March 13th closed session. There were 2 resolutions, one regarding the Arts and Culture Center, and the second regarding the Community Climate Action Advisory Committee appointments. I think Linda will elaborate. Thank you.
Just on the Arts and Culture Center in the former library building, it is a budget item, so it'll get discussed further at budget. The item that was in the closed the closed meeting last week was talking about the manner that we would operate that at the time. So what came out of that meeting would be that with the project funding going through in budget, and if it's approved, then the district will operate the facility in conjunction and collaboration with the Arts Council, Potters Guild, and other groups. But the philosophy behind it will be that we will want programming to appeal to the widest broad spectrum of arts and culture sector as possible. So we'll be looking at working with the project manager and getting that going once the budget's approved.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So we're going to mention the advisory committee?
And the advisory committee, the members have all been, they've been notified, and a first meeting has been scheduled, and Tammy is very excited to get going and get that restarted again.
Okay. Thank you very much. So council, do you want to, can we receive this report, please? Councillor Bark.
I'll move that the report, March 15th, and the Manager of Legislative Services reporting out from the March 13th closed session be received.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Booth, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, correspondence, item 10.1. Any councillors got anybody that, or anything they'd like to bring out of correspondence, please? Okay, would someone like to move that forward, please? Thank you.
Yes, I just wanted to make one comment.
Oh,
about
go
one
ahead,
of the
sure.
correspondence. I'd like to draw people's attention to the email from Pat Pym as a good example of how not to write to council. It's practically one large paragraph, and if you want to make a point when you write to council, try and make it in a more legible form. I picked his because he's not here. He's a politician. He's not near us. But if you really want to make a point when you write to council, and we get a lot of letters,
Pardon me?
put them in paragraph form to make it. Thanks.
Talk to us. Thank you, Councillor Barkle. I do remember, though, that your specialty is finance, and I don't believe you have a degree in English, but at any rate, we'll move ahead. Could we have someone move that correspondence item forward, please? Councillor Booth, thank you. Councillor Barkle, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, 10.2, committee minutes. Who's dealing with that?
It was just to receive for
Okay,
information.
we're just receiving. Someone like to bring that forward, please? Councillor Holmes? And seconder, please? Councillor Barkle? All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, Development Services Reports, 11.1. Mr. Strachan?
As noted, we have a development variance permit application for 9400 Cedar Avenue. The application is to vary setbacks for the front, interior side, as well as the exterior yard setback to 0 meters. The purpose of the application is to sanction existing development that's occurred on the site in advance of selling the property. The application came to council on November 28th, 2016, and at that meeting was deferred pending preparation of development plans. The applicant has indicated they're no longer planning to proceed with an addition or with building plans, but instead have chosen to sell the property. The other resolution that's within here is to change the front yard designation from one street to another. What this does is this would allow for an addition to the building to take place in the future. So a future purchaser could do an addition on the rear of the building, which is on the west side of the building. They would have to get a development permit and a building permit in order to do those works, and would be required to meet the building code for a setback that would be up to 0. Currently, the addition that is there is 1.2 meters off the property line. It appears in the photo that it is right on the property line. However, surveys showing it as being slightly off, and that appearance is a result of distortion that takes place with air photos. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Strachan? Councillor Holmes? Right here? Yeah. Oh, sorry, Councillor Holmes, just one thing. I forgot, is the applicant here? He has permission to speak. Please, go ahead. Come up to the podium.
If they'd like to.
If you wish to, you don't have to.
I don't, you don't feel the need to speak unless they have questions.
Okay. Sorry, I missed a beat there.
And you guys need.
I'm really thankful to be here in front of this council, and I'm really thankful that we are dealing with this issue. So I extend my appreciation to each one of you who has given this consideration and has helped us go forward with this. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to note that we have not received any correspondence regarding this application.
Thank you. Council, any questions of the applicant at all, or
No.
Mrs. Strachan? Go ahead.
I just have one of our Director of Development Services.
Sorry.
So you said that what will be the rear setback is 1.2 meters off of the property line?
So there's currently a small addition that you can see at the back of the building.
Right.
That particular addition is 1.2 meters off that property line. By changing the frontage to Cedar Street, they would be able to do a 0 rear yard setback, which is allowable in that zone.
Okay.
So a future addition could be put on that side of the building.
And a development variance permit wouldn't be required because it's changing to the orientation kind of is changing?
That's correct. So
Okay.
previously, they had indicated they intended to go forward with construction plans. So council at that time asked
Right.
them to provide those plans as part of the
Right.
evaluation. However, now they're no longer planning on going forward with construction at this time, but would like to sanction the siting for the sale of the property.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Ma'am, if you'd like to sit down, you can, if you feel more comfortable.
Just one clarification of the motion. So the front interior and exterior, that would be based on if it was fronting Cedar Avenue, or if the two motions read together in that sense, right?
Yes, Your Worship. They come together. So the front would be the frontage to Cedar Street. The interior side would be on the north property line, and then the exterior side would be on the south property.
But on that note, may I just make a suggestion that it actually, that's a good point, and it should actually be one resolution with the "and for," so after approved, it should actually say "and further that," the designated front yard. So it should be in one, because each one of these, the way it is now, are standalone.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay, and so two of those three sides already have 0 meter setback, and they would have been approved at one point, you know, so why are we approving them again?
There are some additional buildings that were added, and because the orientation was to the long side, or sorry, off of Cedar Avenue, the rear was on the north side, so those buildings didn't require a variance previously, because that was the rear. So there was 0, so we need a variance now for them as an interior lot line. So there's been buildings that have been added, and by changing the orientation of the frontage, we've created new variances.
Okay, go ahead.
So I understand that at one time Cedar Avenue was the frontage, but it was changed at one. Do you know anything about that?
That's my understanding. When one of the variance application was completed in 2009, the frontage was amended from Cedar Avenue to the other frontage.
Do you know why?
It was to reduce the number of variances that would have been required at that time. And my understanding is some of these buildings were in place, but not all of them.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else? Oh, Councillor Barlow?
So, as I understand it, this variance would leave a lot there that has 0 setbacks on all 4 sides, correct?
That's correct.
And then if, right now, there's these temporary looking buildings there, but a new owner could come along and then build a building that went to the lot line on all 4 sides without any sort of a variance required?
They could possibly do that. The issue would be is they would have to provide parking as well as loading areas. So the likelihood of being able to accomplish that with 0 lot line setbacks would be low, but it is possible. They would have to meet the code requirements, particularly on the north and the west property line for 0 lot line construction.
Okay, but in this zone, 0 is quite applicable. is what you're
There's
saying.
0 lot line setbacks only on the rear in this industrial zone, not on the sides of the front.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Booth?
No,
Okay. Anybody else? Would anybody else from the audience like to address the council on this issue? Other than the applicant? Seeing none? Someone like to bring this forward, please, council? Councillor Holmes?
I'll move that the development variance permit application for lot 2 DL 439 ODYD plan 30736 9400 Cedar Avenue to reduce the front, interior, and exterior side yard setbacks to 0 meter be approved, and further that the designated front yard be amended from the yard fronting Lindsay Street to the yard fronting Cedar Avenue.
Is your mic on, Councillor Holmes?
I'm not saying it again.
No, I know you won't, but I was not sure that it was.
that better?
No.
Seamus, can you hear?
That better?
No? Oh, there.
There we go. Okay, we should have waited till you had something really important to say. Left it off. Councillor Carlson?
Just one further question. So this development variance permit will be valid for 2 years from today, from when it's issued. Is that correct?
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, so it will cover what's currently there, but if nothing further is proposed or developed within that time, then it would have to come back again.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Guess we don't have a seconder yet. Seconder,
Oh, I'll
please.
second.
Councillor Booth, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you.
I guess I
Are
I
you
don't vote,
opposed,
I'm
or
in
you
favor,
just
but I was
abstaining?
still thinking.
So you're abstaining, or you're?
No, yeah,
Okay,
no, yeah. Abstaining is a vote in favor.
that's correct, yeah. Okay, so now we're moving ahead to 11.2. Mr. Strachan?
Thank you. As noted, we have a development variance permit. This particular one, at the March 13th council meeting, one part of this particular variance was referred back to staff for more information. Staff reviewed what other jurisdictions have been working on and what they have in place related to hillside standards, and have provided the recommendations included in the report. So staff have recommended that the variance be altered to be the asphalt width surface be reduced from 9.3 meters, which is what the bylaw requires, to 7.5 meters. However, the applicant has been clear that the preference would be for a 7.0 meter asphalt width. It is noted that the increase to 7.5 meters is connected with a reduction in the shoulder width from 1 meter to 0.5 meter. So the end result would be a road profile from edge to edge that would still be 10 meters, which is what the 7.0 meter surface was proposing, therefore equal to what the previous regulations proposed.
So, first of all, ask.
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
Ask.
There been any additional correspondence or?
Thank you,
information?
Mr. Mayor. No, we haven't received any correspondence.
Okay, would the applicant like to speak? No? Okay.
He will.
I understand.
And then anybody else.
Okay, does anybody else like to address this particular issue? Hearing none?
Then Chris.
Okay, the manager of Works and Utilities like to make
Yeah,
comment.
just to expand on what Dean had presented, some of the research we had done with the other communities and with best practices for hillside guidelines had shown that basically almost all of the new subdivisions being developed on hillside standards are of an urban cross-section, so with curb and gutter and storm systems, mainly to reduce the erosion and drainage concerns with those types of developments. However, with this particular development in the neighborhood plan, it was worded in there that this be without curb and gutter, so a rural cross-section, and with no on-street parking. So that's where we're pursuing with this type of a rural cross-section. So based on that, there was 2 municipalities that we spoke to that are looking to include some type of a rural hillside guideline with road standard within their guidelines. And the one has a 7.5 meter asphalt top with at least half-meter gravel curb or shoulders. And the other one's looking at a 10-meter top, but hasn't yet determined what the asphalt width and graveled shoulders will be. So based on that, that's where our recommendation to allow a 7.5 meter asphalt width, but reduce the graveled shoulder to a half-meter on one side and keep 2 meters on the other, will keep that total road top at 10 meters.
I see. Because one of the original issues was just sort of a safety issue around clearance for large vehicles, right? Correct?
Yeah, so with the steeper grades and some of the tighter corners that are permitted in some of the other variances that were approved, that asphalt width of at least 7.5 meters would allow 2 larger vehicles to pass with no
Okay.
concern. And so to accommodate that extra width, like I said, we were looking to reduce the one graveled shoulder.
Okay. Because does that help minimize the actual cut into a hillside in terms of disturbance of the site?
Yeah, so based on the original proposed width, it was a 10-meter road top, and that's what we're looking to maintain
Good, okay.
with this proposal.
Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, just for clarification, could you explain to me, just in layman's term, what a rural cross-section is as opposed to an urban cross-section is?
So urban is typically with curb and gutter, and a rural would be with gravelled shoulders and ditches.
Okay. And the reason it says in the report here that best practice for hillside standards would include curb and gutter. The reason we can't consider that is because wasn't put in the neighborhood plan initially.
For this development, and that it specifically spoke to no curb and gutter, where large residential lots would be developed, which is what these are considered.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Barkle.
So there'll be, I mean, we don't get a lot of rain, but sometimes when it rains, it pours. And there'll be a ditch with this, and where is the water, that ditch gonna wind up dumping the water?
So as part of the detailed design, there'll be a stormwater management plan that's provided as well. So there will be retention ponds along the corridors that would capture any runoff.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions of anybody? Okay. Would someone like to bring the resolution forward as presented then, please?
Sure, I just wanted to, there's a second part to the resolution there. Are we looking at those separately, or do you want me to read
Well,
them
there appear to
both?
all be one part. How do we read that? CIO?
They are separate items. Are you speaking any more to the second one?
I haven't yet. but
No,
we can
that's
certainly
right. So they are separate
Okay.
items, so
So we'll
they
deal
should
with
do them
number one.
separately.
Do number one first, okay?
Just, could I move it as written then?
Yes,
Yeah,
Okay,
number one.
number one, yes.
okay. Did we have a seconder? Councillor Carlson? Thank you. Okay, any more discussion on that? On number one? Okay, all in favor? Thank you, it's carried. None opposed? Okay, number two, Mr. Strachan.
Thank you. The second motion here is related to a covenant that was registered at rezoning, which listed the minimum asphalt surface width at 7.3 meters. And staff are just seeking confirmation that the intent is that there would be a 7.3 meter surface and not a wider surface up to 9.3 meters, what the bylaw requires. So this is off-site works on Sanborn. That's in addition to the regular works which take place on the property. This is their access corridor, but it's not directly adjacent to their parcels. So it comes in as an amenity construction as part of their project. So this is simply to request council to confirm the 7.3 meter wide asphalt surface as the intent of the covenant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any, Councillor Barkle?
So this would simply resurface the existing road, not really improve it by widening it or anything like that. Is that correct?
There is some improvements that'll have to take place in order to create that 7.3
Okay,
meter
it's
surface.
not 7.3 meters yet, or not presently, no?
No, and the right-of-way is quite constrained. And as noted, this isn't the frontage for the developer's property. So they don't have direct control over expanding that right-of-way like they would if it was a roadway within the subdivision or directly adjacent to them. So there's some constraints there.
So just a further note on that, the reason staff is bringing this to council, it was discussed and decided at a previous council meeting, and the language was set, the resolution was such that it just wasn't clear, and we just wanted to have it in the records that they're clear, so it's just a rephrasing of the resolution.
Thank you. Okay. Would someone like to bring the second section forward, please? Councillor Boot, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Barkle? Any further discussion? No? All in favor? Thank you. The motion carries. Thank you very much. None opposed. Okay, we're moving on to 11.3. The receiving of additional information, or actually the resolution that's in front of us.
There'll be,
Okay, Mr. Strachan?
Thank you. As noted, staff have provided an update on where we're at with the Banks Crescent project. You'll note in the file that there's 2 pieces of correspondence that came from the Freshwater Fisheries Society of BC. The applicants continue to work with the fishery hatchery as well as with their engineering staff on some potential solutions for some of the requests that they've made. In addition, you'll note we had a meeting with James Pepper, who's the Natural Resource Department Director at the Penticton Indian Band. We provided further information to him, and we understand that we'll be receiving further correspondence back from them. It was a good meeting, positive conversation, and a good start. We also had listed an environmental report coming. We had hoped to receive it this week, however, we have not yet received it. It's apparently coming soon, will be brought forward to council following review by our environmental planner. The other components, we've received various pieces of the engineering data that's required. Those are currently being reviewed by our engineering staff, and we're anticipating additional information coming soon on those pieces, as well as the electrical, which continues to be worked on. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, council, any further discussion with the planner? Okay, so can we have the report received, please? Councillor Barkholm. Seconder, please. Councillor Carlson, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Could I just ask one question?
Okay.
I'm not sure if this is for the Director of Development Services or our Director of Finance. Number 4, the district revenue analysis. So my understanding of what's written there is requests have been made of the applicant, and they are working with their professionals to provide the information to submit to district staff. Do you have any idea what the timeline might be on that?
At this point, it would be up to the applicant. There's a number of components that are going to be related to the infrastructure pieces, so it's kind of a sequence of things that are going to take place. They've provided the basic information about the architectural, so the number of units, the number of square feet, those components, but what the actual utility components are going to be is going to come out of that infrastructure review.
Okay.
Councillor Carlson?
It's a similar question. In regards to all the information that is being gathered, I'm just wondering if we have any timeline updates on perhaps when we might start re-engaging or having more input from the public and giving some more answers to some of the questions that have been put out there.
Well, we've got a number of pieces that are significant pieces of engineering work that have been submitted. Those need to be reviewed. Some of these pieces need to go out to third-party engineering review. The traffic as well as the water modeling will need to be completed. So we're continuing to keep it as a priority and continue to work on it. After it's gone back to the applicant, the ball essentially falls back into their court, and we'll move forward as quickly as they can respond.
Okay. So next council meeting, maybe we'll be able to come up with a timeline for as spring moves ahead into summer, trying to have some more steps and some more dates for the public would be my request, I guess, if possible.
Any comments here?
Yeah, hopefully next council meeting, we can have a better idea. There will be also work needed to be done by our internal staff, both in engineering and works and in finance, which, with the budget and the audit at this time of year, it hasn't been possible finance-wise up until now, but it will become once we get the information, and it is a priority in engineering. That's a big load.
Yeah, I think might remind that we're also going to be talking about budget, so that's been a big, heavy load as well. So which is, the finance side of it, of course, the same department's handling it all, so it'll be coming as quickly as staff are able to move along and as quickly as the proponent supplies us as well. Right? Yeah. Okay, we have a mover and seconder. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, 11.4. CAO?
We will have Director of Development Services start with this one, and then I'll have a couple comments.
So we have a recommendation from the Heritage Advisory Commission to rename a portion of Kelly Avenue to between Wharton Street and Brown Street from Kelly Avenue to Veterans Way. Staff have recommended that this be referred back to us for further review. It's noted that the policy related to street naming includes some provisions that this particular proposal would not meet. The Heritage Advisory Commission did bring this forward as an option at a previous meeting in November. However, recently brought it forward asking for it to be completed by April 9th in recognition of the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Vimy Ridge. However, staff would recommending that we hold off until we have a little bit more time to review the policy in relation to what's proposed. Thank you.
So just to add to that, I note that on the report, it's, the recommendation's not there, but in the agenda cover sheet, it is that we recognize that it's not ideal to delay, but we ran into issues with the last street naming that we did, and in fact have one of our cases with the ombudsman person is still outstanding on our process for renaming streets. We haven't yet looked at the fact that we do it by policy versus by bylaw. And there's a number of outstanding issues, and we feel that that staff needs to introduce it correctly to council before we proceed.
Okay, Councillor Holmes?
Was the Heritage Commission aware that what they were recommending wasn't to policy, and if so, are they recommending we change our policy, or is this, or they're thinking this would be an exception to the policy?
They were notified at the meeting of what the sign policy was. They're aware of it. We also notified them in advance of bringing the report to council that this would be our recommendation. They understood what we were looking for and more review, but have not met again to have any alteration to
Okay.
recommendations.
Thank you. Councillor Barkle?
I would like to move that the recommendation from the Heritage Advisory Commission to rename a portion of Kelly Avenue located between Wharton Street and Brown Street to Veterans Way be approved. And that's the motion I would like on the table for a seconder
Okay.
for
I'll ask
discussion.
for, is there a seconder, please? Mr. Strachan?
No, sorry.
Okay. Your seconder, please?
Then it fails.
Okay, I'm sorry, there's no seconder, so it fails.
Well,
I
you
find,
did-
sorry, I was just going to say, I find it a little awkward, because it's not that I don't want to approve it, but there's nothing in either of the resolutions about the time restriction. I mean, it'd be great to have it approved, but sometime during this 150th year, but as it's been presented, there's nothing in there about the time restriction.
So have we
And-
moved, so just for clarification, if we had.
We have not had a seconder.
No,
Right,
the
so
motion
we,
fails.
so we don't discuss unless you've declared it that one, it's not that it fails, it just moves on, it's
It
not
just
considered.
dies.
Okay.
So then, it's not being considered at this time unless somebody brings it up and it's seconded. The intent of staff is to bring something forward to council fairly quickly. I think that it's unfortunate that it got caught in the change of staff. And they did bring it earlier in the year, the first time, but like a number of things with significant changeover, but we do know that our procedures right now are not correct. And from a staff perspective, we'd be repeating a mistake twice without. So the idea would be that we would try to get it back to next council meeting and making sure that council could understand, be told the correct information. We just didn't have time.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, I didn't understand how quickly that
That's fine,
turnaround
yeah.
would be.
Okay,
Yeah, so I
Councillor
don't have a problem.
Barkle, is someone prepared to bring in.
Does it mean we can't have any discussion on the matter, or?
No, it means you can't debate a matter until there's a motion on the table. If there's a motion on the table, then you can debate the matter.
So to get on the table, it has to be moved and seconded, and then you can have a discussion. Counselor Carlson?
I will move that the recommendation from the Heritage Advisory Commission to rename a portion of Kelly Avenue located between Wharton and Brown Street to Veterans Way be referred to staff for further review.
Okay, do we have a seconder, please? Counselor Booth, thank you. And further discussion, Counselor Barkle.
When we had issues down at, I presume you're referring to Trout Creek, we were always advised that council had the authority to name roads by bylaw, and whether or not it fit our policy or not. I see a complete difference here. This particular road borders the park and 2 pieces of municipally owned property. Who's going to complain about changing the name to Veterans Way? I just don't see the risk here, and so the Heritage Commission has asked since before Christmas that it be changed to Veterans Way, sorry, but for the anniversary of Vimy Ridge, and there's a lot of information in there. So I just don't see a problem with doing that. I think we're, scared of monsters under the bed or something.
I just, as staff, I take objection to that comment, though. I think that if council decides to approve it, then the council certainly has the authority to approve it. It's our job to make sure that we're advising whether or not we're doing things in the correct manner. And the confusion, it's not whether or not we're judging on whether it's a admirable thing or even a suggested thing, or even council has the opportunity to name whatever street, whether or not conforms to policy. It's whether or not it's done by bylaw, or right now our policy states that it's done by policy, by a resolution. The community charter states that it's done by bylaw, and we had a legal opinion on that. We just haven't been able to sort through that legal opinion and make sure that we're giving council the correct advice. So
you suggested that we'd be doing something incorrect? What would we be doing that was incorrect?
It's only a problem when you do something incorrect, first of all, if it gets challenged. So again, council has the right, council can still do it by policy. From what we understand, we should be introducing the bylaw, not a resolution, a bylaw that actually makes the name change to the policy. But there's some, that makes the name change to the street.
So if we'd had on the agenda tonight a bylaw, it would have been to change the name and things would have been okay?
If that's we have to sort through like I say, this one dropped, there's no question that with staff, this one dropped through the cracks. And we didn't have the opportunity, once it recognized that we had a timeline, to get a bylaw prepared to make sure that we review the legal opinion to ensure that that is actually correct manner in doing it. We haven't been doing it correctly.
So, it's not the end of the world if we don't make April 9th, but to do it correctly, we have to do it by the introduction of a bylaw on the agenda. Is that what you're saying?
From what I understand at this point in time, but I recall in the legal opinion there was manners in which we can do it, and that's what we need to work on. So our intent would be to bring it back, complete with the process to do it correctly, as soon as we possibly can, which hopefully would be next weekend. Next council meeting.
Next week. Okay, Councillor Holmes?
I'd also like to add that, we have a street naming policy, and so maybe we want to review that policy. Personally, I don't have a problem with it. Our policy is that streets here are named after either local people or local places, and we already remember soldiers who went to fight for us on our own way. We do it by the names from the cenotaph, and we honor individual people. The most recent was Treffry, and you know, these are real people with real names, you know, with a real connection to the community. And that, to me, is much more important than honoring, you know, this kind of generic veterans who is supposed to recognize Vimy, but, you know, to me, that doesn't necessarily, I don't think of Vimy necessarily when I think of veterans. It's kind of an innocuous word, and it's, I think it can be seen as grandstanding. You know, I don't see how, you know, a committee of council recommends this, and there's been no public input on renaming a street. You know, maybe there's better ways to do this. Maybe there's better names. I don't think we just necessarily accept this word that comes up. I think there's other ways. You know, and the Riga Festival Society, they made a submission to the Cultural Plant Task Force requesting that there be a street named after George Riga, and we've never discussed it, never came here. So, you know, I like to, you know, why not? You know, why one and why not the other? And I think we need just to get our heads around the whole street naming thing rather than just somebody pulls this up and it comes to council one day and yeah, that's a good idea. That's not the way to do it.
I think that's why it needs to go back to staff so that we're aligning things correctly and handled appropriately.
Well, then I think the motion should be reviewing our street naming policy rather than specifically
Okay,
the
we
way
have
it's
a
worded
motion
now.
on the table at present, correct? So we're making, who made the motion in the first place? Councillor Carlson?
And I second.
And you seconded?
seconded it.
Okay, do we have a friendly amendment then, Councillor Holmes?
Is that necessary?
Is it
That's
yes?
not, no, that's a totally different motion.
Okay, okay, it's a totally different motion, okay. That's correct. So if that's the case, then if there's a desire to have a different motion, now we have to either approve or,
I don't think there's a desire. It's been
No.
moved and
Pardon me?
seconded. I don't think there's a desire. It's been moved and seconded, so.
yeah.
We just-
Okay, well,
We
Just-
haven't voted yet.
it's a matter of voting. We either have to vote for it or vote it down. If we vote it down, then we can go back to a different motion, correct? Right? Yeah.
I think,
Okay.
just through, my understanding from what I've heard is that through this process, the information will be looked at by law versus policy versus how things are done, and so I do believe that we should be looking into our policy and reviewing it all, but I would suggest that we go with this for now, and then if we need another motion further on down the road, we should go there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Motion
I
carries.
was going to say something, but never mind. Too
I
late.
think we had lots of information. Pardon me? I forgot to ask whether there are any opposed. Two opposed. Thank you.
One opposed.
Two.
Well, there were
Two. Two opposed.
Two
Oh, I
opposed.
missed the other one, sorry.
Tight vote. Okay, we're on to 12.1. CEO?
So this is simply, we appointed the appointees to the Community Climate Action Advisory Committee at last council meeting, but didn't oppose a staff, a council liaison, and Councillor Carlson was the liaison for the last Climate Action Committee and has agreed to be the liaison at this one if council passes a resolution.
Okay, someone like to bring that forward, please? Councillor Booth, thank you. Seconder?
Just a question, do we have a backup
Alternate?
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 So
Would that be worth adding to this amendment?
that would be good.
Be good. Anybody here like to offer their services? Councillor Holmes, okay. The amendment, the motion can be amended to include Councillor Holmes as the alternate. Okay. Okay, so we have.
So I'll move that
Move
with
that,
both
okay.
names.
Seconder, please. Councillor Carlson, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. The motion carries, none opposed. Okay. 12.2, parcel tax roll review.
So we're just looking for 3 councillors to sit on the parcel tax review panel. As you can see here, there's one local sanitary sewer service area to consider. It would just be held previous to the committee of the whole meeting on Monday, the April the 10th at 8:30.
Aaron Trainer, Janet Peak.
Yeah, gotta be there, right? Okay.
I'll participate.
Okay, Counselor Carlson, Counselor Holmes, one other, please. Counselor Barco, yeah, we need the finance
I
guy.
have a hard enough time getting here at 8:30.
Okay,
We'll start
good,
bringing
thank
it
you.
back.
Okay, would someone like to bring that forward then, please? Counselor Holmes. Okay, seconder? Counselor Carlson? All in favor? Thank you, none opposed. Moving ahead to 12.3, Mr. Deniger.
So this is just an update for the petitions received regarding the OCP and zoning changes proposed for 13610 Banks Avenue, Banks Crescent. The tallies at the bottom of the report, looks like it's a total of 1,079 signatories, 913 from Summerland. As well, an update regarding the online petition, and as before, the online petition will not be published, but the written petition will be available on the website.
Okay, thank you. Council, a motion, please?
I'll move the motion as presented.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Counselor Barkle, thank you. All in favor? Motion's carried. None opposed. Thank you very much. 12.4, is that being pulled?
I'll speak to that.
Okay, go
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this item, on Friday, staff were advised from the Ministry of Agriculture that the information on their website is inaccurate. Therefore, the staff report regarding regulating audible bird scare devices will be updated accordingly and brought to a future council meeting for your consideration. So we're just recommending that you table this item today.
Okay. We have a motion to table, please. Counselor Boot, thank you. Counselor Barkle, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you very much. 12.5. Mr. Swetch. No, CAO, go ahead.
Well, we'll turn it over and talk about the proposed, the general overview on the budget today, leading into the open house.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the purpose of this presentation is to provide a high-level overview of the proposed operating and capital budgets in the general fund. A more in-depth review will be presented at the public budget open house on April 3rd, 2017. The open house will go from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. with a lively presentation, from what I'm told, at 6:30 p.m.
And it's being held,
Oh, at the Arena banquet room. Thank you. The budget process prompted numerous questions that needed to be addressed during the compilation of this proposed budget. Questions such as, how will contractual increases affect overall budgeted costs? How will the strategic plan guide the budget? Will projects not started in the previous year be brought forward into 2017? And if so, how will they be funded? How will decisions made in 2016 affect the 2017 budget? What effect will the non-market change have on budgeted property tax revenues? What, if any, service levels need to be increased to provide better services for residents? As well as, how will council begin to address the infrastructure deficit? All of these questions played a role in how this budget was formed. So the proposed general fund operating budget plans on the District of Summerland expending $12.9 million in fiscal 2017. Now, the three largest functional areas are protective services, works, and recreation and culture. The proposed preliminary 2017 budget reflects all contractual obligations, such as negotiated contract increases. The most significant ones are the RCMP contract, landfill, janitorial, and wages.
Can we just make a note, in case it's not clear, that that's the increased amount? So, for example, RCMP, the contract 2016 over 2017 is 103,000 higher.
Correct. Yeah. And in addition to the contractual increases, expenditures that were approved in 2016 that affect 2017 are the firefighter inspector. So in 2016, that position was budgeted for 6 months. Now in 2017, of course, that's an entire year budget, so there's a cost reflected to the 2017 budget.
It was approved in 2016, so it was a new position that was improved in 2016, but because the budget doesn't finish until
Correct.
mid-year, it only got spent.
Correct, and that's the same with the next one, the sustainability coordinator. And the fire training grounds, 2017 is the first year of the grounds actually being in operation. So those are all decisions that were made in 2016 that will now be reflected in 2017 and moving forward. So this slide illustrates that prior to looking at any new projects or increased service levels, contractual obligations combined with decisions made in the prior year have increased the starting 2017 budget by $368,000. To take that into context, a 1% property tax rate increase generates $75,400 in additional property tax revenues for the district. One question that was considered while compiling this proposed budget was how to address projects that had been budgeted for in 2016 but not started. Council has decided to carry over projects totaling approximately $567,000 to be completed in 2017. Common financial practice, which is proposed in this budget, is that all the carry forward projects be funded through a combination of accumulated surplus as well as reserves. Some of the identified projects that fit within Council's strategic priorities are listed here. The Recreation Master Plan, the Subdivision Bylaw Update, the Heritage Plan, as well as the Perpetual Slide Monitoring.
Can I just add to that one too, just for greater clarity again, what that means, basically, it means that those projects were already taxed for last year. They were taxed for, they were planned, and it wasn't spent. So rather than taxing for them again this year, theoretically, they're part of the surplus because it wasn't spent, so that the funds will be carried from that surplus and funded when they're done this year, rather than being taxed again.
Yeah. So throughout this budget process, Council discussed overall service levels that are currently being provided to the community. Council has not reduced any current service levels in the 2017 financial plan. Decisions were actually made to increase levels of service in relation to sidewalk maintenance, minor street repairs, as well as internal records management. The added budgetary cost of these increased service levels is $110,000. The Development Services Department has seen significant growth in the amount of application and inquiries over the past 2 years, and expectations for 2017 are that this increased trend will continue. The proposed budget reflects this expectation with increased development services revenues of approximately $108,000. Now, with this increased demand on the department, there are concerns that the level of service will decrease. To ensure this does not occur, the proposed budget includes approximately $50,000 for the hiring of a development technician. This position will be phased in over a 2-year period. For economic development, it's a concept that Council has incorporated into your strategic priorities. The district has received a $100,000 grant to help move this initiative forward. The proposed plan is to use a portion of this funding to hire an economic development project manager, who in turn will develop, through community and council consultation, of course, possible strategies that the district can implement to further economic development within the community.
Just on that note, just for a reminder, that program includes the wayfinding, so the improved signage project throughout, and the communications material, which is our internal systems to make it easier for people coming into the office and needing to know what processes to follow. Those are two components of that particular project, as well as the little bit more research on the ag tech sector.
So when we look at revenues, non-market change refers to the change in the property tax roll not related to market fluctuations. It can be viewed upon as new tax dollars. And there are three main components of this change. The first one being property class changes. So that's when a property, a Class 9 farm, for instance, gets changed to a Class 1 residential property. Rarely does that happen, so most of the time it goes the other way from a Class 1 to a Class 9. But that affects the non-market change. The second point is the additions or deletions. Those pertain to subdivisions, folio changes, those types of events. And the third one is inventory changes, so new construction or demolitions. So all three of those factor into the non-market change. And in 2017, the district's non-market change is anticipated to be about $146,500. This revenue has been included in the proposed budget. And we touched on the development services revenue on a previous slide. So when we look at the general fund on the capital side, the proposed 5-year capital plan includes approximately $16.4 million of spending in 2017 and 2018 alone. The listed major projects make up the bulk of this. I could go through, if council wishes, and comment on each one of these, or...
Let's make a note that, of course, we don't fund capital directly through taxation. It's funded through a tax strategy on the various reserves. At the public open house, we'll have all the details of the reserves and the strategies and where the funding's coming from. I think we should make a note that the Giants Head Road upgrade, that we will be putting an application in for the federal gas tax general strategic priorities fund, which is the largest intake they've ever had this time, and the funding is 100% funding. So if we're successful on that particular grant, that $6,089,000, the $6 million would be covered by the grant. So it's a very promising application that we're just in process in getting ready for the completion of the budget.
Correct. And the Arts and Cultural Center project, it was discussed earlier in today's meeting as well.
So the idea of the $250,000 would be from the gas tax funds that we already have, which is called the Community Works Gas Tax Fund. It would be, so it's a grant that is pre-given, and all you have to show is that your project fits the grant, and this does. So the $250,000 would be for a project manager, for a temporary project manager, and the bulk of it would be for the capital upgrades to take the former library to do the infrastructure upgrades to make that the Arts and Cultural Center. But it is, again, grant funding for that one.
Correct, 100%.
And then the aerial fire truck has been in the budget for the last
5 years. So I did some research this morning, and it has been in the budget for the last 5 years. In 2013, the budgeted amount was $750,000. It didn't specifically note an aerial fire truck. The reference to aerial fire truck became prevalent in 2015 at a budgeted cost of $750,000. Now, of course, with increased costs, that budget line item has gone up to the $975,000 that we see here. The funding strategy for that is a portion of that would come out of the fleet reserve, $300,000, with the remaining funding coming from the land sale reserve fund.
So then just a note on the mobile fleet replacement, that all of our fleet, if they're existing vehicles that are being rotating, it's all self-funded. So again, that will become, all of that comes out of the equipment replacement reserve. So each year, so the $1.68 million there for mobile fleet is from the equipment replacement reserve. And of course, the $3 million Garnet Valley is, 2/3 of that is the grant funding for the Bill Canada grant.
87%.
On the Garnet Valley?
Yeah.
87. Was it 87?
Oh, no, sorry,
No,
2/3.
No, that's the grit, it's the grit.
That's the grit removal.
The grit
Correct.
removal is 87,
That's
this one's
correct.
2/3.
Yeah.
So the capital program is very big, but I think one of the things that council, that we incorporated into the budget when developing the budget was to make sure that we weren't budgeting for any projects that weren't going to get started this year, in recognition that that there's a few really big projects going on. A lot of these projects are grant-funded projects, but so we have a limited capital program this year, and we'll be adding capital projects if we complete and successful.
Councillor Holmes, yeah.
The funding we just received for the solar installation, would that be a capital, where would
Well,
that
that's a
fit?
feasibility, so it could ultimately move into the solar. We will be applying for, FCM has a large green, it's not their green municipal fund, but a brand-new program that's very specific to the capital portion of that.
Yeah. So, to summarize, to complete everything identified in the proposed 2017 general operating budget, there is currently a funding shortfall of approximately $164,000. Furthermore, as part of budget workshops, there were questions on how the district's asset management plan was coming along and what the infrastructure deficit will be. Speculating what this amount will be is quite a difficult task. However, there is consensus that current reserve levels will not be sufficient. Council is seeking to be proactive in ensuring the financial viability of future projects. So therefore, Council has proposed an increase in the amount that's to be transferred to the district's capital reserves in the amount of $137,000. So to fund both of these, a tax rate increase of 4% is being proposed. 1.8% is directly attributed to the increased reserve contributions for future capital projects, with the remaining 2.2% attributed to the operational funding shortfall. An average Summerland home assessed at $396,943, will see an increase in property taxes of approximately $50.50 over 2016 if this rate is approved. And if directed by council, these preliminary budgets will be presented at the public budget open house on April 3rd. Council will take into consideration input received at the open house prior to finalizing the financial plan. And that ends my report.
Thank you. Council, questions of Mr. Strachan, please?
So that's Strachan's easier to
sorry.
say, but
Just 'cause
you
Strachan's
can't
easier to
just
say.
call him.
My mind just went to the easy one, sorry. I even stumbled the first time I tried.
Oh, you did pretty well.
Any questions of our CFO? That's the easy way out. Director of Finance. No questions? Councillor Carlson?
I'm just wondering when the next, when is it proposed to come forward as bylaw?
Well, we would we'll have the open house on April the 3rd, and then we'll look at the comments that's received, and before a bylaw comes to council, we will bring all of the comments that have been received and any input that we receive. We'll have a publication that summarizes it. Last year, we got quite a bit of input from that summary, and then, so that would be at the council meeting shortly after the week after the public meeting, and then if council will either advise us to make changes based on the input or advise us to prepare the bylaw for consideration at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say that was really well presented, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Could I-
Councillor Boot,
yeah,
yes.
May I have just one question? Could you go back I think it's just one slide to the capital?
That one?
Yeah, that's the one. So if I'm understanding this, Garnet Valley Water System is funded 2/3. Mobile fleet is kind of taken care of. Aerial fire truck, that's it. And the Giants Head Road upgrade, we're hoping for 100% funding on that. So the numbers up there, the total at 12 million is potentially less than half of that, as far as coming out of
It's
know,
all coming out of a
tax-
reserve of some sort, or grant funding. It's less than
Okay.
that is funding. The Giants Head Road upgrade since you bring that up, just to note, council had determined if the grant funding has been recently announced, and it is a perfect fit for that program. What council had originally directed staff to incorporate in the budget was the design this year
right.
and the work next year, and it would come out of the Capital Works Fund if the grant's not successful. But we will put it forward as a full grant application first of all, and continue on with the engineering.
Okay, so let's just assume that we get all of that done. Then capital spending of 16.4 million. Sorry, I'm just trying to
So
talk
there's-
my way through this. Assuming that all of that's done, at the 12 million, then we have the ability to look at more capital projects in 2017, 2018?
So we should note that they're not all up there, which is why the 12 million's listed,
Correct.
and it's actually 16.4.
Yeah, these
Because
is-
this is just the highlighted bigger ones. And then absolutely right, that's when we were working with staff, we were very adamant not to put anything in the budget if we did not feel that it was realistically going to happen this year. We
Right.
want to be able to look down the list and say, these projects are happening, they're being worked on, and they're budgeted for. If halfway through the year, we're moved forward, then we will have a conversation, because they come from reserves anyway, or from grants, we will reconsider, council would do a financial plan amendment if there was something they wanted to then move on to.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
That's clear.
That's great.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you.
that. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say something about the aerial fire truck. I personally struggled over that one for a little bit, thinking, I know it had been planned for many years. And so one way of thinking is that, well, you know, we've gotten by all these years without one, so why shouldn't we get by, you know, going forward without one? But then, you know, the other way of looking at it is that maybe we've just been really lucky these last 5 years, you know, that we've been fortunate, and it's probably, when you consider some of the buildings we do have already in the community, that it's worth the investment. The other alternative we're looking at would have been a regular fire truck for $300,000 less, I believe. So I've grappled with that myself, and I think that you know, we're making the right decision going with the aerial truck.
Further to that I think the fire chief indicated that you know, with a number of the, 4-story buildings and so on, that it makes it difficult, and be able to actually shoot down on some of those buildings, even on house fires, have the ability to shoot down as opposed to in. You've got a much better impact on the situation to resolve it more quickly. So it's something that it's been in the budget for a number of years for a pretty good reason. It just was never realized, so, you know, come to fruition. CAO, did you have additional?
No, just that there'll be a lot more details at the April 3rd.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Barkwell.
While we're talking about the fire truck, I think I remember when it was discussed about 2 years ago in our first budget discussions, that the fire chief, you know, it was a big number, so it caught our attention, and he said it largely depends on the US dollar, Canadian dollar rate. They're all made in the US, and we know what's happened to the Canadian dollar lately, so I would presume that a large part of that increase is from the change in the exchange rate.
Probably.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I'd also like to add my 2 bits, that I thought your presentation was great. I really liked the way our CAO can anticipate what people might have, the questions they have in their mind, because they're in my mind too, or I might know them, but I'm thinking they don't know them, and you always seem to be able to get in there with what they need to know.
Well, that's
Too many years as a
Well, I was just going
director
to
of
say, when
finance.
you got multiple credentials, including the, you know, CPA designation and the past CFO, there's easy conversations between our present finance officer and our CAO. It does make things go more smoothly, and I feel that we're kind of blessed with the capacity, and actually, much as it may, you know, I'd like to say too, having you, Councillor Barkwell, here with your background and understanding does make things better and sometimes more difficult, but anyway.
It's my job in life.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so council, we're looking at receiving this. Would someone like to bring forward the resolution, please? Councillor Carlson?
I'll move the proposed 2017 to 2021 financial plan as attached to the Director of Finance March 22nd, 2017 budget report be received, and that council directs staff to present the proposed 2017 to 2021 financial plan at the April 3rd, 2017 public budget open house.
Seconder, please. Councillor Barkle, thank you. Anything more? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. The motion carries and none opposed. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to 12.6.
Before we discuss this, I am related to the owners of this house, so I will step away.
Thank you. Okay, who's moving forward?
We'll take Mr. Denninger. We'll
Mr.
move forward.
Denninger, yes.
Okay, so staff have received a letter from the owners of 14216 Washington Avenue requesting that in order to service an extension to their residential house, that they be permitted by council to connect to the sanitary sewer system. Staff have reviewed the request. There are no particular concerns regarding it. It is not, however, within the existing sanitary sewer service area. It is zoned A1 and designated agricultural in the OCP, but we don't see an immediate conflict there from a policy perspective. It is within the agricultural land reserve. It does lie immediately adjacent to the existing sewer service area and right next to a point in the sewer system that services neighboring properties. So the owners are at a point where they need to know whether or not they can connect to the sewer system or if they need to invest in replacement of their entire septic system. So staff are looking for direction from council on this.
Yeah, I think didn't we recently have a precedent for this type of connection?
Well, it's just the way that our service area, it's very unusual for a municipality to have this need for independent local service areas. In fact, we're probably the only municipality that has this, because it would typically be one service area and a person would just connect in as the opportunity is there. So it's just the way our service area is done right now that this is a bit of a technicality.
Okay, thank you.
Let's go to council each time.
Council, any questions of Mr. Denninger? Okay. Would someone like to bring that forward, please, as presented? Councillor Holmes, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Boot, thank you very much. Okay, all in favor, or any further discussion on this at all? Okay, all in favor? Motion carries, none opposed. Would someone like to tell Councillor Carlson she can return? Okay, moving ahead to 14.1, CAO.
This one's simply on the agenda for adoption. Council passed third reading after the public hearing last week, and it needed to go to Ministry of Transportation for final approval. It's now ready for adoption.
Okay, Council, someone like to bring that forward, please? Councillor Boot, thank you. Seconder, please. Thank you. Councillor Carlson. Any further comment on that? No? Okay, all in favor? Motion carries, none opposed. Thank you very much. Okay. Where are we here?
14.2 will go to Mr. Strachan.
Right, okay. Mr. Strachan, 14.2.
Mr. Mayor, as noted, we have an OCP amendment as well as a zoning bylaw amendment for a property at 14600 Cartwright Avenue. The subject property is a large parcel covered by a neighborhood plan, the Summerland Vistas neighborhood plan. The subject area is a portion of this property which is currently zoned forest graze, as well as has a neighborhood plan designation of 2 designations, one being a medium density residential component as well as a low density component with portions of LSA or ESA, environmentally sensitive area. At the time the neighborhood plan was done, the environmental sensitive areas were identified mostly related to topography. So steep slopes, over 30% slopes, were identified as having a significant possibility of environmental concerns. So those properties were identified in that. So you'll see the line work for the ESA area generally follows the 30% slope component of the neighborhood plan. There's 2 portions to the subject application. One is for a single-family strata development, which is 22 single-family strata lots that are proposed to be developed. The OCP amendment is not required for this piece. This area already has the proper OCP designation to allow for it. It is already designated medium-density residential. So this area only requires a rezoning, and the rezoning would allow for single-family development, which is similar to the adjacent portion. The second portion of the proposed development is a multifamily component. This area is currently designated as low-density residential. It requires an OCP neighborhood plan amendment to change it to medium density in order to allow this type of housing type, and as well a rezoning to medium density residential as well. This would allow for this area to develop with townhouses or multifamily development. At approximately 1.2 hectares in size, this would allow a maximum density of these units within that polygon that's shown of approximately 30 units. However, this site, as you can see with the ESA area as it comes in and out of this polygon, it has some real topographical limitations. So getting that many units on this site would likely be very difficult. The access for this is limiting. The main road comes up across the frontage of the subject property. However, to have driveways come up it and go up the slope is not practical for single-family development. So access to it is going to have to come from a shared driveway of some type, which is where the origin of the multifamily for this site was first reviewed. So it would come somewhere past the corner. There would be an access road where the main road finally gets to high enough elevation that you can get an access driveway to go down the back of the properties. So this would be the case whether these were single-family development lots or multifamily development lots. The access can't come directly off the front. And it's quite evident when you get onto the site and realize the steep slope at that's been cut in order to create the main road that comes up there. So as noted, the single-family development portion is going to be a strata, so it will be a strata road with the 22 lots within that area. This portion of multifamily would also be strata development. They've shown some blocks of housing or buildings on here just for discussion purposes. These have not been in any way designed as a format to what would really take place there. There's a number of components that need to be reviewed. We did have some preliminary environmental review that was done last year. We had our environmental planner have a look at this site. Most of the environmental concerns with the subject property are related to the higher elevation portions. Up above, there's less modification that's taken place to the site. In and around this area, it's seen significant amounts of modification. If you go out to the site, I was out there this afternoon, you can see there's large piles of rock, as well as gravel materials and logging roads, as well as a number of recreational trails that are cut through this property. So most of this site, with the exception of the edge on the steep slope, has been significantly modified over time or with previous development. It appears a lot of the material that came from phase 1 is now on phase 2. So a significant modification is taking place. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, questions of the planner? Councilor Holmes.
Is the developer here?
I'm not sure.
Would you want to speak?
Developer free to speak? No, he doesn't wish to speak, apparently. Okay. So, Councillor Carlson.
Just a question regarding process. I recognize there's a lot of people in the audience tonight that are here due to this issue, and I wonder if we could have a quick explanation of how a proposal like this comes forward and what it will take and how we will get the input from the folks who currently live in Estrada on the Cartwright.
I think in the report, the Director of Development Services recommended the first and second reading, then to move forward so that it's on the table for discussion. And then it would move, there would be another report that comes to council, and then it would be, a public hearing would be scheduled. That's when the members of the public would have the opportunity to give their feedback. I understand that one of the other ways of doing this would be to put first reading on the table, first reading only, and have some further information sessions. If we feel that there's, I certainly myself have heard that there's some concern, just not so much necessarily even on the proposed application or on the application, but just on the unknown, on more details, what's being asked. And a public hearing is very one way, and there's not a lot of interaction. So I haven't discussed it, but you could certainly open it by taking first reading and then asking the developer or ourselves to do an open house to provide more information so that people have the information before speaking at a public hearing. In my experience, that's usually beneficial to have a mechanism for people to actually see and work with the information before they try to speak to it at a public hearing.
Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I think we need to take an approach like that. I think if those who bought into the phase one of the strata, probably expecting that subsequent phases would go a certain way, and now that there's been asked to change, I think the people who've bought into the phase one should be told what's going on, basically, in their own backyard, and I'd hope the developer would do that, but if not, then I think we ought to do that.
Yeah. I think it's advisable. I think the only thing is, I guess when I was first looking at it, because it had already had a full neighborhood plan for it, that basically it was understood. But with these sort of changes, which I think I gather from the planner that it's because of physical limitations that they went from single family to what we're looking at in terms of townhouses. But I think that there's nothing wrong with certainly having additional opportunity for people to express and find out more before, because the difficulty of the public hearing is that it is a one-way approach to things. So, Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, and also just it's a pretty quick turnaround as well. For what's proposed here for a public hearing, for people to get their heads around what's going on. So.
Because I remember when this project was first initiated that we all knew that there were multiple phases to it, but when there's specific limitations which changes things up a little bit, then there's nothing wrong with additional opportunities, I think. So I think that's a good approach. So, Council, what's your wish?
I have a few questions.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the neighborhood plan was approved some time ago. Do you know when that was?
2006, I think it's right.
2006?
2000.
2000? Wow. And is this in the urban growth area?
Yes.
It is? And then I just wanted to, I don't understand something that's in here, and I just need some clarification, Director Strachan. Environmental study and reporting is recommended to be conducted through a development permit process prior to subdivision approval. And then it goes on to talk about why you're asking for that, or recommending that it be during the subdivision process. What comes first, the development permit process or the subdivision process?
So a subdivision application would trigger a requirement for a development permit. So if you make a subdivision application and the area is within an environmental development permit area, you must complete an environmental development permit prior to the subdivision plan being signed. In this particular circumstance, the details of what the multifamily site layout and configuration would be is going to be connected with that review, that specific site review, as well as how the infrastructure is going to be designed is going to impact what areas are going to be modified and which are not. The site, with the exception of the back area of the multifamily, the upper portion of the multifamily, has almost been totally modified already. So there's not much in place at this point in time. However, there is an identified potential wildlife habitat components. There was features such as wildlife trees that may come up as part of that DP process for protection.
That seems a little backwards to me. I can understand, I understand what you're saying in that the preliminary drawings don't necessarily show exactly how what the footprint is going to be. But it seems to me that it should be in line with what the environmental assessment plan reveals.
So at the time that the neighborhood plan was done, there was environmental review completed by the planning staff at that time. Those components really didn't identify specific features on the site. They just identified that slopes over 30% had a potential. So this would be the detailed component of it. So the proposal is to tie, when we do that study, as close as possible to when they're actually going to do something to the site to modify it, but before they do that. So before they build any roads or have approval for any alignments, or before they have approval for siting of buildings, that detailed study be completed. At this point in time, we just have the overall area that's proposed to be developed, not the specific development of any lots.
Okay, I get it. As long as I'm understanding that environmental plan will be done in advance of, any roads going in or any development beyond what has already been disturbed.
That's correct.
Okay.
Part of the subdivision approval, the servicing agreements would come through as well, and that all gets approved, part and parcel.
Okay.
But the development permits for the environment have to be completed in advance of consideration of that plan being signed.
Right. And this is more robust than what would have been done way back in 2000?
It would be
Because
required
our
to
things
meet
have,
current standards.
yes, because it's quite a bit more restricted now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. I know that you've been through that a million times with me. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Barkle?
So just following up on Councillor Booth's thoughts there on the process. So is it, would I be correct in assuming that the layout things is they would like to, knowing the topography and everything, and then take that and do the environmental assessment, and because of what they find in the environmental assessment, they might have to revise their plans a little bit?
Certainly with the multifamily site in particular.
Yeah.
Building siting will be impacted by the access road, the servicing, what's discovered in the environmental reviews, as well as whatever housing format they're going to look at, how many units and so forth.
Okay, Councillor Carlson?
Just to, you may have answered this already, but just to clarify, so there's two different areas. One, they're asked, is zoned currently medium density residential 22 single-family strata lots, right?
It is designated for multifamily, but it's not zoned.
Okay.
So none of this area it's shown in red on the screen there. This is the area, the subject area.
Mm-hmm.
None of it is zoned for development at this point.
Which is what they need.
That's correct.
Part of it was an original plan, part of it is a change to the original plan.
That's correct. So the part that is part of the original plan is the 22 single
Right,
family lots.
which we could talk to that one hopefully without too much issue, however, it's all bunched together, so we're gonna talk about the 6 low-density, upzoning it to medium density.
The OCP amendment component only applies to the multifamily site.
Right, okay, thanks, just needed to make sure, so it's a portion of a bigger picture, part of the picture is already sort of in progress, and the other piece still needs to be discussed and made sure that it's gonna work properly.
Okay. Counselor Holmes,
Your motion?
go ahead. You can, I would, read through the motion if you can. Yep. Or present one.
I was going to present my own.
Go ahead, you're right for you to do that. Yep.
I move that the official community plan amendment 14600 Cartwright Avenue be bylaw number 2017-004 be given first reading, and that zoning bylaw amendment 14600 Cartwright Avenue bylaws 2017-005 be given first reading, and that a public information session / open house be held to present the development and answer any questions at a time
Not
that's
at a council
convenient. Something
Okay.
like that. Would that work?
Yeah, did you?
I can second it if we
Okay.
feel
Think-
that.
Clarification for me, did you include the word, it's not actually a public hearing, you didn't
No.
include that as
Public
public
information.
Okay, that's great, I wasn't sure.
Open house.
And not second reading either.
Right, I'm clear on that, yes. Counselor Carlson, you're seconding?
I'll second it when we have a date, or if we need a date,
Okay,
I don't know.
do we need a date
Second
for?
it.
We don't need a date, but we can.
I would suggest we need to look at, we would schedule it, and we would look at the availability of the banquet halls and advertise it accordingly.
Okay. Okay, we okay? Counselor Barkle?
I wasn't clear, is this going to be a presentation? There was a lot of controversy with the Banks Crescent, or whether it was our presentation or whether it was the developer's, information session. Are we going to do this as the district's presentation with the developer's information, or?
I would suggest that the district would host an open house
Mhm.
because you want to present the material, you want to present the information as we have it, and our plans. You would certainly expect the developer to, as the applicant, to be there
Yeah.
and to be able to provide the information too, but our information would be presented.
I think that any sort of back and forth and discussion and feedback between the developer and interested people would only be beneficial.
Okay, Counselor Holmes?
Yeah, just we can't really speak for the developer, but I would hope that he would be involved.
And he indicated yes.
Okay. We have a mover and a seconder. All in
It's
favor? Thank you. The motion carries, none opposed. Okay, moving on to councillor reports. Relatively brief councillor reports. Councillor Barkle.
I attended one meeting the last 2 weeks, and that's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Booth.
I can't remember if Linda brought this up, or sorry, the CAO brought this up. But Earth Week is quickly approaching. There will be an article in the Summerland Review on April the 6th, right? Kind of a general overview of the activities. This week, or this year, Easter is late, so the activities will probably start on April the 18th, I think. 18th? I think the 18th is the Tuesday.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Sorry?
It is. Yeah.
Yes. The mayor and I attended an RDOS meeting on March the 16th. We had a presentation from Fortis. I think probably people here know that we are working, hopefully with UBCM, in changing or having them have a look at their two-tier rate system. They were talking to us about if you wanted to get onto their natural gas extension, that they have come up with a new financial formula, and it's a lot less expensive, but they didn't really give us details, so that's where that was left. They are also working on, or we, I guess, are also working on a food waste diversion program for the regional district, which is really good for landfill life. And our mayor and the mayor of Osoyoos reported out that they had attended an OBWB meeting. I find this very, very interesting. Only 7% of the Okanagan River, as it stands today, is in its natural state. So all of those oxbows that have been taken out. And since the 1800s, we have lost 92% of the riparian area in the Okanagan Basin watershed. That's a lot. There is a Chamber of Commerce AGM on the 30th, which is Thursday evening, and that's being held at the Summerland Waterfront Resort. Some of you may have seen these up. I know that there's one on our bulletin board downstairs. There is a group from University of British Columbia that is looking at doing a community survey. It runs until the end of June, understanding mental health disorders. It needs to be done online, but I've spoken to Tara at the Summerland Resource Center, and she's happy to get you online and walk you through it. It takes about, I did it myself today, it takes between 20 and 30 minutes, and it's confidential, and you're just given a scenario, and it's really to give them an idea of how people see mental illness or mental wellness in our community, and then they're going beyond that, taking the information that they get from the community survey. So if you're interested in that, you'll see these around a number of places in town. Just rip off the bottom and the information is there. Last thing, and this is a bit of a more personal thing. Just today, I started a blended program with Royal Roads University in Victoria. It's a blended program, though, so I don't have to spend my next 2 years on campus. So I will be here completing my work of being a counselor. I'm very excited about it, so that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Carlson.
I'll let Councillor Holmes have my time tonight.
Sorry, I did go on for a while, sorry.
I'm going to take Councillor Trainer's time as well.
No, you, please.
No,
I was taking it as a bonus here.
Councillor Trainer would have wanted me to mention this. So on March 16th, I attended the grand opening of the Little Free Library in Trout Creek, which was put together by the Trout Creek Community Association. And it's, if anybody haven't seen it yet, you should go down there, take a look. It's at the back. John Topham built it. It's at the back of the bulletin board by Powell Beach there, the park. And a Little Free Library is this worldwide trend of a kind of a neighborhood book exchange where people just take a book, leave a book, they come along. There's several have popped up around Summerland. People just put them out, build them and put them in front of their houses. And I think the first one was somebody list off Quinpool put one up there. But this past weekend I built one. I've got one in front of my house. Lots of people are coming around, taking a look at books. And I understand Councillor Boots building one as well. So it's a great trend worldwide. Millions of books are being exchanged every year this way. And not only is the intent to inspire a love of reading and increase access of books for everybody, it's also builds community. So it's a neat thing, and I encourage people to make use of them. One other thing, on March 15th, I attended the Heritage Advisory Commission meeting. I made a presentation regarding an initiative I'm working on called Summerland Open House. It's going to be one Saturday in the fall, where the idea is to open up a range of buildings in Summerland which people don't normally have access to. So, and I've spoken to the CAO about it to try and get some municipal buildings open, but there'll be private businesses open that you wouldn't normally go to, cultural buildings, heritage buildings, private homes, really interesting, architecturally interesting homes. And it's a really simple but powerful concept to showcase the community's built environment for everybody to experience completely for free. This is another something that's kind of spread all around the world. And in fact, the first one was in London, England in 1992. And I happened to be living in London that time. And I went out, I participated in the very first one. And they had buildings like MI5 and MI6 open. They had little houses tucked in, behind a skyscraper that had a garden rooftop, which in London in 1992 was really weird, So it was an amazing thing, and again, part of community building. And the idea is to promote awareness and knowledge of your own community, and with the idea being that the more you know your community, the more you'll appreciate it and take pride in it, and you become more active citizens. You'll shop locally, attend local events, join clubs, societies. You might even vote in local elections. So it's it's really the same principle as the Chamber of Commerce's hashtag Discover Home campaign. And so I talked to the Heritage Commission to help, so they would help identify the heritage properties around town. We've got an organizing committee together, but if anybody is interested in helping out organizing, just please contact me. And I'll be speaking to other organizations in town too to get them on board, including the Chamber of Commerce at their next meeting. So.
Excellent. Thank you. It's great. Okay, now we have an opportunity for the public to come forward with any comments they may have. Just give a name, please.
Diana Smith. I live on the corner of Solly Road
Can you
and Latimer.
Can you pull the mic down a bit? Thank you.
Diana Smith. I live on the corner of Solly and Latimer. I have two questions. The original rezoning application for 13610 Banks Crescent showed the applicant Lark as including funds for infrastructure upgrades and amenity costs. If these costs are more than the applicant Lark originally agreed to pay or is willing to pay, who will pay the difference? My second question. Dean Strachan's report to council mentions the applicant Lark is engaging professionals to address 8 of the 9 outstanding items, some of them for a second and third time. If the development is not approved, are the town and ultimately the residents liable for picking up the costs for these additional reports, or is the applicant so sure the deal is done that they are willing to front the costs?
Do you want me to answer?
Pardon me?
Do you want me to answer?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Sorry, the first question was infrastructure. So the amenity contributions aren't finalized. That's part of the work that needs to be done as far as determining what impact on our infrastructure there is done. So once that's done, discussions happen. So no, there's nothing that's been determined or agreed upon on that yet. And the second question, there's no liability for the district if they are doing extra reports, et cetera. That's always, with any application, that's always the balance that they find when we're asking for more information and more information. They choose whether or not there's a tipping place where it gets too expensive or not, but there's no liability in our case.
Okay, so if there are any, so the infrastructure upgrades, you don't even know the order of magnitude yet, is that correct?
We have, some of them we do, and some of them I think we spoke in the past about the electrical and
The roads.
and the sewer lift station impact on the sewer system. So there's still work to be done, and the roads.
And the traffic and the roads, yes.
To determine what that is, and that's Chris's department that's working with that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name's Diane Ambery. I live at 6510 MacDonald Place.
Yes.
I have questions about Banks Crescent, and I'm disappointed that a couple of our councillors are missing tonight, as some of my questions were for them specifically. But if Councillor Carlson perhaps would answer my questions. I know that staff knows all the answers, but the councillors did state that they were becoming informed on this project and the magnitude of the project, so I'd like to see if they are informed. I think that I'm allowed to do that. So the first item would be the traffic study, which I reviewed again tonight. And it said that the truck access to the site would be from Highway 97 down Solly Road. And then I've heard at these meetings that the construction estimates are going to be 7 to 10 years until completion. So that means trucks would be taking this route for 7 to 10 years. Yet the traffic study says that only 25% of the traffic is going to come down Solly Road. Does that make sense to you, Councillor Carlson?
Sorry, I'm confused as to why you're singling me out.
Because I was going to ask that question of Councillor Peak, and she's away.
Oh.
And you said at that meeting that you were becoming informed on the project and didn't want to make a decision,
Yeah.
but you were reviewing things, so.
Okay, excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me, I think the purpose of this session is to not specifically direct questions to individual councillors, is to raise comments, and we will take those information or comments that you have and respond to them either jointly or from staff once we've had the ability to consider what you've asked.
So tonight, or just this live document that we're waiting for online? I'm waiting for answers for a long time, and I'm.
Well, the answers, as you know, are coming forward as we develop more information on all this. And your particular
Okay.
question, re the construction period, there's certainly going to be, there would be truck traffic. The designated period of time of the construction is pretty much up in the air as to when it would be completed. And that really depends on market and so on and so forth. But there's, I believe the market or the traffic information is being revisited, but these are informations that will be more complete when we have the full information, which will be coming in the next few weeks.
In the next few weeks?
Yeah.
Okay. Then my question for all of you to go online when you can answer it. The council and mayor have made suggestions that there's somehow a difference to those of us who live in Summerland when land is called agricultural or when land is in the agricultural land reserve.
That's correct.
Do you think that most people could identify any land that is agricultural versus agricultural land reserve?
Well, I think, you're to ask me directly, I'm probably the one with the most background and information in the area. First of all, you go to the land reserve information, which would show you precisely, and even on our own mapping system will show you exactly where the agricultural land reserve land is and which land is necessarily outside the reserve but may be zoned as agricultural or A1 or whatever level it is. Mm-hmm. And if something right now, that particular parcel is not in the agricultural land reserve, and the history around the development of the land reserve is that there was massive surveys done through the early 70s and before that in terms of what land would be included in the agricultural land reserve. And there's all kinds of criteria around that, and in particular cases, small isolated parcels may or may not have been included depending upon the contiguous nature of the land with respect to, say, that particular parcel. And so that's part of it. In this particular case, you've now, over time, Summerland has developed the entire area. So the entire area, other than the Banks Crescent parcel itself that we're talking about, has developed sewer and water and all the services that everybody has in the existing area. And there were no services put to that, but it was because of the proximity of all services and the small parcel that it is relative to its agricultural capacity, because only about 6 acres of the 14.5 is deemed to be useful for agriculture. Therefore, the land reserve at the time I'm supposing here to some degree, but this is what their general approach is, that those sorts of small isolated parcels that might be surrounded by existing services wouldn't be included in the agricultural land reserve. And that's been the basic premise of how the land reserve was developed. And over time, you know, since 1972, when it was brought into being, there's been modifications and applications for removals over the decades, and it's, you know, tremendous amount of work over time is being done to sort of refine what's in the land reserve and what isn't to this point.
Yeah, I appreciate your long answer. I was really trying to get at the point that I don't think that most people who live in Summerland look at an orchard and go, oh, that's ALR. Oh, no, that's just agricultural. And I don't think most of us see that there's actually a difference in the land. That was totally the purpose for my question.
You know,
because this is being treated.
The specifics are that there is a difference, and that's how it can be looked at by the municipality. They have to look at what's included in the ALR, and my history is strong, adamant protection of the ALR land. Land that is in the ALR should stay in the ALR.
I hear what you're saying. I disagree with you. So.
Okay, well, that's fine. I think we're reaching enough time, Councillor Barkle.
I haven't had my 2 minutes yet.
Pardon me?
I haven't had my 2 minutes yet.
Okay, go ahead. No, that's fine. I'm not.
Councillor Barkle, I attended a meeting a little while ago when you said to the people.
I'm sorry, ma'am. There's no specific directed questions to individual councillors.
Okay, then I'll just make a statement.
Go ahead.
Living here for 6 months or 45 years does not make one's opinion any less valuable. And perhaps knowledge of other communities makes our opinions more informed as to what makes a community desirable. I resented being spoken to like my opinion didn't matter. I'm concerned about the date that we will see the living document online that was promised at the Q&A, because so many of us didn't get a chance to ask our questions.
Well, as far as I know, we're continually updating what's on the website. CAO.
Council moved to move through the items that we're moving through, the identified areas where you needed more information. That's the purpose of what we're going through at this point in time until further direction comes from council. So we're updating all of the correspondence and the information, but a lot of the questions are the ones that we're going through and answering, starting to gather the information for at this point in time.
Yeah, as we go through gathering the information, the questions that were raised are being answered with that information accumulation.
So those of us who put our questions in the box will not see those questions online being answered.
I think the questions that were there were certainly valid questions. I'm not saying they weren't or anything like that, but a lot of the questions could not be resolved to supply an answer until adequate information has been developed, as being described today, that as we move forward, there's more information coming through the process of additional reviews, additional reports on various aspects of the development. So I think some of those answers actually cannot come until those reviews are completed. That's the way I see it. That's pretty much it.
I'll just ask one more question, because I realize you're wanting to move on. There's a proposed path that's going to go up on top of the utilities section just to the south side of Solly Road. That's where the sinkhole was earlier this year. And that path is supposedly for the people who live in Banks Crescent to walk up to town to shop. And since I can't ask anyone specifically, I'll just make the comment that I don't see people walking 3 kilometers to get there to go shopping, especially uphill. Summer, winter, it's just too difficult. And I think that's one of the things that the developer was saying was such a great idea, was to put a pathway there. 3 kilometers is just too far. Has anyone here done it lately? I know I haven't.
I think as an amenity, it's something we would like to have as an addition to allow the ability to walk safely beside the road. Whether individuals are constantly using it for that purpose is another question. But I think any addition we have to roadways to enhance the safety of them is a bonus.
Sorry, that didn't mean expanding the road, it's.
No, I know, I'm talking
the
about just the
pathway.
pathway,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. Councillor Barkwell?
We're
not having a discussion,
Yeah, no,
Councillor
I
Barkwell.
want to add a point of information that sounded like the speaker was asking about what land's in the ALR and which land isn't, and in the time that took her to answer the question, I went to the Agricultural Land Commission site, downloaded a shapefile, which you just open with your Google Earth, and it shows you a
No, that wasn't my
complete
question
map.
at all.
Okay, Councillor Barkwell, I
Okay.
think we're beyond, out of order.
That wasn't my question. I just mean that any orchard, any vineyard is up for development in this community, whether it's, beautiful and it's right beside you, or if it's, not that well looked after, it doesn't really matter.
No.
Any builder can come and ask for a permit to build on it.
No, as a matter of fact, if it's in the ALR, then they have to make an application to council to move that issue forward to the Land Commission for consideration for removal before it can move any further. If it's not in the Agricultural Land Reserve, then it is not under the Land Reserve's purview in terms of what occurs. It's up to a potential applicant who may own the land to decide to approach the municipality as to what they may wish to do with the land.
Thank
So
you.
that's an
So neighbors
individual-
should find out what's beside them, if that orchard is ALR or just agricultural, so they know what they're potentially subject to in the future.
Well, any particular piece of land that needs to move forward, or wants, individual owners who want to move forward, if it's in the land reserve, then they have to make application for removal. Otherwise, of course, they don't.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir.
I promise not to be as long. No, Mr. Mayor and council members, my name is Rod Conrad. My wife and I had the privilege of being the first residents of the Cartwright Phase 1 strata. And I just want to thank you for giving us a future opportunity to discuss the developments in the Cartwright area, because basically it wasn't until this weekend that any of our members that are living up there were aware of the proposed changes for townhouses. The developer has not made any contact with us, WPS Developments, and so a number of us caught off guard, and so almost found out by accident. So I just want to again thank you for giving us the opportunity to discuss this in the future. So
Okay.
thank you on behalf of the residents.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Mary Ann McDonald. I live at 6505 McDonald Place. And my question for staff, council, whoever, is I've gone through the community charter, and one of the things it says is that all meetings of council and its committees, commissions, and other subsidiary bodies must be open to the public. And yet on your website, when you put in the agendas and things like that, you have special meetings before you have the regular meetings. And I know what a closed meeting is, but in the special meetings, other than when there's certain items as enlisted in the Section 90 of the Community Charter, is there anything preventing anyone from going to these special meetings?
Well, clarification
So,
from CAO.
so a special meeting, it's a bit of an odd thing with the community charter. Special meetings, 99% of the time, are called in order to have a closed meeting. So when we have a closed meeting dealing with the things in Section 90, such as labor relations, human resources, legal,
Right.
we need to open a special meeting in order to pass a resolution to go into closed. So all of those special meetings have any agenda items on it that were included. So if you look at the minutes of all special meetings, you will generally see that there is only one item that's passed at that meeting, and it's a resolution to go into a closed meeting.
Okay, so, okay. So usually no other items are discussed at those special meetings?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So they usually happen on the morning of a day like today.
Right.
So we come to council meeting, and that's a day that there's not a committee of the whole, for example. We come to the council meeting a special meeting is called, and they immediately pass a resolution to go into a closed camera, an in-camera
In-camera
meeting,
meeting, yeah.
and then nothing else is discussed.
Okay.
And that's why that's the only thing on that agenda.
That's what I wanted clarified. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to speak, please? Okay. Thank you. So we're moving on to, anybody from the press like to ask questions? John, thank you. Okay, could I have a motion for adjournment, please? Councillor Carlson, seconded, Councillor Holmes. All in favor? Thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.